There was an idea to bring together a group of remarkable comic books to see if they could become something more than bin fillers. So when I wanted to, I could actually read them in chronological order from 1 to 100. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video with Swaggle. And in this video, we're talking Grail runs. Yes, that is right. Comic book collecting Grail runs. I recently completed mine of collecting Avengers 1 through 100, and I decided to make a video not just to take a victory lap for my collection, but to just talk about my experience with going after this Grail run and maybe offer some thoughts to you guys in case you are considering doing the same. But before I get into it, if you guys could drop me a like, comment, subscribe if you're enjoying the content, helps support the channel, doing those things, I would appreciate it. Avengers 88. The final book I needed to complete my run. No, this is not a Stridex reprint. This is the real deal. If you guys happen to remember when I got duped by picking up an Avengers 88 Stridex reprint. All right, let's kind of talk about this here. There's sort of a lot to unpack, and I kind of want to categorize, the video into different buckets to talk about some of the major pointers in doing this Grail run. And the first one I wanted to kind of discuss, which is maybe a little more personal to me and what I decided to do with my run, is to talk about the terms. Now, when I officially kind of entered this space, I wanted to collect all the Avengers books 1 through 100. That was my target goal, and that really is going to be the first thing that you guys would need to decide if you're going to do a Grail run. Are you going to collect Amazing Spider-Man 1 through whatever the current actual issue number is? I mean, that's a whole other beast altogether. Or are you going to decide to collect, a very specific section of that, particular run? That's going to be up to you. But for me, it was collecting Avengers 1 through 100. And then on top of that, I had a few restrictions I wanted to implement. I only wanted to buy books that were above a 3.0 grade, and I only wanted to buy the books in person. No online shopping allowed. To me, it was about the hunt and the chase, and I thought that that would be just a lot more fun in putting this Grail run together. Now, do I actually think that that was the most efficient way to do it? Absolutely not. This took me 2 years to actually complete this run, and I'm someone who regularly goes to comic shows and LCSs. So if you're not somebody that regularly does that and you only want to buy in person, it is really going to take you quite a long time. So if you're somebody who wants to complete your run in a timely fashion, you're probably going to need to buy some books online. And speaking of buying books online, let's take a moment to talk about the sponsor of this video, Torpedo Comics. Now, for those who don't know, Torpedo Comics is one of the best comic book stores in the country. They are based out of Las Vegas, Nevada, but have locations in the Southern California area as well. But if you're somebody who needs to make your purchases online, they have this excellent store, torpedocomics.com, where they have all sorts of goodies. They got mystery boxes, raw comic books, CGC slabs, and trading cards if you're into that sort of thing. They even have this nifty section that shows the latest products added to their store. So if you're somebody who wanted to complete your Avengers Grail run, maybe you could buy something like this, Avengers 89 in a CGC 9.6. Not only having a complete Avengers run, but also having the one that is top of census. And the best part about torpedocomics.com is if you use my promo code SWAGGLEHOSS, which you'll see in the description, you'll be able to save 10% off on your order. What's not to love about that? I want to say thank you to Torpedo Comics for sponsoring this video, and let's get back into the Grail Run talk. Now, once I had the term set for myself, I actually had to figure out what the cost was going to be to put this run together. You're probably wondering, how much did it actually cost for me to assemble all of my books? Now, I did kind of upgrade some keys here and there throughout the run, but if we're talking about the absolute bare minimum baseline of what I spent to put all these books together, we're looking in the range of $7,340. $7,340. That is a per book average of around 73. And while that does seem pretty high, I mean, there are some major keys that eat up the bulk of that cost. I mean, just my Avengers 1 alone and my Avengers 3 make up over half of that. So, if we take away some of the numbers that are like the key comic books, specifically Avengers 1, Avengers 4, and Avengers number 8, the amount of money that I actually spent to put together the other 97 books is actually $2,158, bringing the per book cost down to actually $22, which is actually pretty good overall, considering there are some big keys, in this Avengers Grail run, like first appearance of Vision, first appearance of Ultron. There's some early Avengers books that, just by themselves are pretty expensive overall. So generally speaking, it was fairly efficient for me to hunt these books in the wild, especially since I, usually implement my golden rule for buying comic books, which is to say that I will never buy a comic book above the price that is being asked for on eBay. So, most of the books that I picked up, especially the run fillers, were in that sort of $10 to $15 to maybe $20 range, generally speaking. And I was pretty, steadfast about that. I never really wanted to overpay, especially for the run fillers. Now, is this the most economical way? Absolutely, to get, a Grail run? Well, no. I mean, the best way to, put a run like this together would probably be you being a comic book dealer or buying comic book collections. I mean, we've all seen a bunch of people picking up comic book collections and basically them coming with an entire Avengers run. That would honestly be way more efficient if you can actually find that. But, I didn't really want to play it that way. On top of that, there are a lot of times where I saw good deals online for certain books that were probably even cheaper than what I paid for them in person. But, again, to me, it was all about the chase. It was all about the hunt. And speaking of the hunt, let's talk about the next little portion that I wanted to kind of discuss. And that is really the journey. The journey of the Grail run, I think, is what it's really all about. It's all about the process. It's all about the hunt. And it's all about the people you sort of meet along the way. I have very specific memories for every single Avengers book that I purchased because, it wasn't just something that, was like an unboxing to me. We're all chasing our nostalgia. We're chasing that dopamine hit of when we picked up these books when we were little kids. And I think kind of doing it this way creates a little bit of, a story and a more emotional connection to each book, which makes it, a little bit more fun if you ask me. Like, for instance, even though I no longer have the Avengers one I first got, I'll never forget the time that I drove up to A1 Comics to pick it up, or I'll never forget the time when I made a trade for my Avenger 57 first appearance of Vision. These little kind of moments and memories in our collecting journey are really what make it special. Now, for this next section, I did want to highlight a few interesting books that I've sort of come to appreciate in this Avengers run. I mean, now I feel like I'm an Avengers expert, and I can talk about some books that I feel like maybe are slightly underrated for what they are. The first one I wanted to talk about is this Avengers number 3. Not only is this just, one of the cool kind of early Avengers covers, this is actually the first time that Namor meets all of these Avengers characters. And I actually think that this is a pretty underrated book. I mean, you don't see it too often. I mean, again, it's all relative scarcity, but there's something kind of special about that key, and I don't really feel like people talk about it too much. On top of that, Avengers number 5, first appearance of the Lava Men. That is all well and good that, that is maybe cool if you're somebody out there who is a big Lava Men fan. But, what I think is actually kind of cool about this cover is that this is the first and only time until you get to Avengers number 100 that you actually see all of these, core Avengers characters on a cover together. We're talking Hulk, Iron Man, Thor, Captain America. Of course, Hulk would leave the Avengers after this comic issue right here. And then Captain America didn't join until Avengers number 4. So they weren't on the cover for that one. And so you go throughout this entire Avengers run where you actually don't see these characters on the cover together until you get to Avengers number 100. Another book here that of course was hot, during Loki, but Avengers number 23. I think that this is just one of the best Avengers covers. I mean, it's John Buscema's, or one of John Buscema's first Marvel works, first appearance of Ravonna Renslayer, which is, a cool factor as well. But just, when we're talking about badass Kang covers, I mean, this one is just really awesome. I mean, the colors are so unique with how they colored Kang on this. And I think that this one really, really stands out. On top of that, that whole little run right here, which is issues number 23 through this one right here, Avengers 25, you got a lot of Kang and Doctor Doom stories. Again, this is another book I think is super underrated in the Avengers run. First meeting of Doctor Doom and the Avengers. This could be a book that gets hot, at some point in the future. But I do think that this one is very, very underrated, especially for an Avengers book. Now, this other one right here is one that, of course, you guys know, Avengers 47, first appearance of Dane Whitman, the Black Knight. That's cool. I think that that's a fun key factor for this book. But what I really like about this is that this is the first time you see Magneto in the Avengers run. I mean, I like this book just for the Magneto cover. A couple other ones that I wanted to show you guys that I think are often underrated, underappreciated. Avengers number 54. I like this book because it gives you a lot of value. We're talking about the second appearance of Dane Whitman, the Black Knight. We're talking about the first cameo appearance of Ultron. And then we're talking about the first appearance of the new Masters of Evil. Kind of like a little run filler book, but I think is actually really cool and sort of, you get a lot of bang for your buck as far as the significance in this book. On top of that, it's an all black cover. So, those all black covers are tough to get in high grade. Then of course, Avengers 55, first appearance of Ultron, first full appearance of Ultron. Still an underrated book, in my opinion. I realize 1968 book, the census. I don't know if that book is necessarily ever going to go to the moon, but Ultron, one of the biggest bads there is, still really undervalued, underappreciated, especially since it has had such a big correction and pullback from when we got Age of Ultron. Last couple of books that I just wanted to talk about because I just feel like these are, really special Avengers books. Avengers 71, first appearance of the Invaders. This is just a badass Sal Buscema cover. I mean, I think if you're somebody who just likes early, Silver Age books, or, I guess you can make the argument that this is a early Bronze Age. This is just a badass cover that I think is, one that everyone should have in their collection. Just looks good on the shelf. And then on top of that, this one right here, kind of just a run filler, Avengers 82. This is not the first time that Daredevil meets the Avengers, but it is the first time you see Daredevil sort of on a cover with the Avengers. And it is a great John Buscema cover. So just a really cool one to have in their collection. I just thought I would take some time to talk about some of the key books that I think are underappreciated in this run. And then also let me sort of transition this to one of the other little things I wanted to talk about in strategizing the Grail run. And that is to, if you're somebody out there who wants to do this, who wants to put a run together, it is definitely my suggestion that you focus on the keys first. You go for the keys, you buy that ASM 1, you buy that FF 1, you buy that X-Men 1, whatever your holy grail is for your Grail run. I think that you should probably start with getting the key, because I feel like what ultimately happens, I think, to a lot of people is they start trying to fill out this run, and then maybe somewhere in the middle they get tired of it and they have all the fill books, but they never got any of the keys. I think you'd be better off to do it the other way around, where it's like you get the key books first, and then you decide like, hey, do I actually still want to keep going here? And then you can find the fill books, along your journey. So that would be my suggestion to you guys. All right, last little talking point I kind of want to discuss before I wrap up the video is the future. What am I going to do now? What do you do once you finish your Grail run? Well, the answer to that question is I don't know yet. I don't know if I'm going to continue on collecting another, run and try to fill that one out. Part of me actually thinks that I might, return some of these books back into market. Really to me is all about the hunt, and kind of like the sport of fishing. Once you catch the fish, you just kind of want to throw it back into the ocean. I mean, I feel like that is probably what I'm going to do with a lot of my books, because, there's, maybe a lot of value and a lot of equity in some of these keys. And it's always been my goal to upgrade to a 7.0 for Avengers number 1. And I think it would be actually kind of fitting if I took the value of my Avengers run and put it all into that one book. I don't know. That's kind of what I'm thinking for the future. Let me know what you guys think. Anyways, that's all I got for this video. That was me sort of talking about my experience with collecting the Avengers Grail Run. I think that Grail runs are a lot of fun, albeit, I think they can be kind of tedious. At the beginning, I was really enjoying the process. I mean, every show I went to, there was always going to be something to look forward to. I could always go into the Avengers bin and I could always pick up a bunch of books that were available. But as I got down to the last 10, to the last 5, to the last 3, to the last 2, it became more tedious and it became kind of annoying, actually, a little bit. I actually just really wanted to get it done because I was actually over the fact that I had to kind of continually go to these Avengers bins and find the books that I need for my collection. So I'm actually really happy to be done with it, to be honest. I don't know if I would consider picking up another Grail run anytime soon, but I do recommend that everyone should try it at least once in their comic collecting journey and, see if it is for them. Anyways, that's all I have for this video. Like, comment, subscribe. See you on the next one.